Truth. Let's go to Roy Blunt, who is in Springfield, Mo. And Senator Roy Blunt, how you doing, buddy?
Well, Jamie, I'm good, and I always learn something when I'm with you. And this Robin Hood thing is new to me, but whatever. I assume the president continues to try to change the subject in every way he can, from the economy and people looking for jobs and 8.3% unemployment. That would be a lot higher if so many people just hadn't given up on the economy to anything. But it's going to be a year where we're making big decisions that are going to impact the country for a long, long time. And in our state, one of those days is today. But the day that really matters is November election day, when we decide who's going to be working for us instead of working for a different vision of America. We don't want to become Europe. All you could do is pick up the paper every day to see what happens 65 years later. So we have the advantage. We've read the end of the book. Now, if we still want to go down this path, we're a whole lot more foolish than the Europeans were.
Well, and to your point, and before we get to this whole claim by Obama that the Romney plan is actually increasing taxes on the middle class, which, boy, he played some real heavy-duty numbers games to reach that conclusion. But before I get to that, to today and the election today, I think you're right on when it comes to the sensibilities of Missouri voters right now. And I think that's reflected in the fact that we have three really solid candidates on the GOP side in a primary, which I don't think I've actually seen that in a long time, where we have three people who are, if any one of them wind up getting the nomination, I think anybody could be comfortable with. But that's a reflection, I think, of the hunger of many common-sense conservatives. And I think the fact that we have three very distinctly different people running, but all with the same kind of motivation in terms of their sensibilities, is really a good reflection. I think it's a positive thing for us.
You know, I'm glad to hear you say that. I haven't gotten involved in the primary, partly because of the reasons you just mentioned. All three of these people are people who I know. They're people who are friends of mine, people who bring a lot to the election day to day. And frankly, I think national Democrats and Missouri Democrats know that any of the three of them is going to be a whale of a candidate between now and November. And also Missourians are going to know that Harry Reid is going to be the majority leader unless we change our Senate seat from where it is now to a conservative. And I think I can be in the majority in the next Senate, a Senate that would pass a budget and pass appropriation bills and do the work that you and I and Missourians want the Senate to do. But that's unlikely to happen unless Missouri and three other states change who they send to Washington. And I think we've got three really good candidates, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow, because then we can focus on one of these candidates that's going to be talking about the future of our state and the future of the country, along with people all over America.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, I mean, I know you guys, it must be frustrating, because I know the House keeps sending these bills over to you guys that sometimes could actually kind of crack that case, that suffocating case that surrounds prosperity and growth in this country, and yet you turn around and your colleagues there on the Democrat side just won't budge.
Well, you know, only one person can, under the odd lack of rules in the Senate, only one person can put a bill on the floor in the Senate, and that's the majority leader. And, you know, Harry Reid has said, we'd be foolish. Basically, he said we'd be foolish to have a budget and say what we're for. And he said, as I challenged him and the majority at the leadership press conference 2 or 3 weeks ago, why are we having these political votes every week instead of just debating how we're spending the people's money? Why haven't we had a single appropriation bill? And Harry Reid says, we're not going to have any appropriation bills till after the election. It's an unbelievable position to take, that we're running for office. 23 Democrat seats in the Senate are up, and I don't want the American people to know what we're for. This is Harry Reid saying that, until the election is over. And you're right, the House has passed a budget. The House has passed most of the appropriations bills and got all of them out of committee. Matter of fact, I'm on the Appropriations Committee in the Senate. We've got every bill out of committee. Every appropriations bill could have been on the Senate floor. You're not going to get spending under control if you don't debate spending, and they're unwilling to do that. And if people are satisfied with the current majority, all they've got to do is send that majority back in the next Congress, and surely people aren't happy with the way the Senate is failing to do its work.
Do you ever actually personally talk to Harry Reid? Like, you ever just run into him in the hallway or something?
You know, I do, and I don't have a bad personal relationship with Harry Reid. In fact, when I was the majority whip in the House, the chief vote counter in the House, he was the Democrat whip in the Senate. And in those days, a handful of years ago, he was the guy in the Senate that you could actually get something done with. But it's hard to lead that majority, and for whatever reason, he is just always out there saying things that he can't be defended.
Yeah,
I can't remember how many times he apologized to the last president. He called the president of the United States, George Bush, a loser and a liar. And then, of course, he had to apologize. Frankly, George Bush didn't lose anything to speak of politically, and he's not. And so I'm sorry, I got carried away. And you know, he gets these positions in an election year that are just impossible, in my view, to defend. But you know, personally, I can get along with Harry Reid. I'm just very disappointed that he's failed to lead, and he's the only guy. The majority leader is the only person in the Senate that can make that final decision. Now, I don't get to decide who the majority leader is. The Democrats get to decide that.
Yeah.
So I don't have any responsibility for Harry Reid. And I've told Mitch McConnell, if he becomes the majority leader, I'm going to insist, and others will too, and he will too. I think we've got to have a budget. We want to debate the bills. We've got to get spending under control. We've got to work with the House to get the country on the right path, or we're not going to get out of this economic spiral that we're in. All
right. Well, Senator Blunt, I'm really up against this. I got to get out of here, but I want to ask you very briefly, though, is there a quick way to dispute Obama's claim that somehow Romney's plan increases taxes on the middle class? I don't get where I don't get his math here.
You know, this is the same president that said spending under him had gone down.
Right.
Remember this?
Yeah.
Spending under him had gone down. This is the same guy that says the private sector is just fine. This is the same guy that said if you didn't build your business, somebody else did. I think there's plenty of understanding out there that the president is in campaign mode and the facts don't matter. What matters is whatever he can convince people. He also said the big failing of the first 3 years was he didn't weave a story for the American people to believe.
Yeah.
I think he's weaving that story and hoping it gets him reelected.
All right, Senator Blunt, thank you very much for joining us, and we appreciate all you're doing up there.
I'm going to be around a lot in September and October, and I look forward to spending some time with you there in the studio and maybe other places as well, buddy.
Great. You going to be in Tampa?
I am going to be in Tampa for a couple of days. You going to be there?
Absolutely. So I hope you can stop by our microphone, and we'll get you on.
I'll see you in Tampa.
All right, my friend. Good talking to you.